This is a good example of how you could talk and ask somebody and learn about a subject that you do not know a lot of information about. Unlike many other people, they would fight and argue for no reason. This man was very respectful and we had a good conversation. Even though we disagreed, we still have a good and nice conversation. We talked a lot about how bone smashing works, what are the effects of it, why I got into look smashing and bone smashing, and many other subjects around surrounding this topic. Let's get into the video. Raven, what's up, bro?
Hey, so I was just
What is
wondering,
that?
you were talking to the last guy about kind of the science behind how bone smashing works.
Yeah.
You're saying that it's building the actual bone structure, or are you claiming that it's building facial tissue?
So there's gonna be temporary and permanent stuff. The temporary gonna be like inflammation and repair tissue from the damage you're gonna be incurring on your like skin, your bones, and the fat and the actual bones. But now there's going to be also a permanent change that would be including part of the for the bones, the change in the bones. Three ways you're going to see three results: density, that's going to be hard to verify or measure, but there's going to be obvious. Another thing is going to be a thickening of the bone, and movement of the bone. Now, the hows, the scientific or the molecular, like how the molecules or the atoms of each one work, that's not what I'm looking at right now, or like how each cell works and what it does. That's I do not have it right now. I'm currently looking into it, but the results is what I was talking to him about. That you're gonna see those three results.
Okay, so based off of that, what type of bone smashing are you conducting personally?
I just use a hammer. Uh, I got this pillow down here. I brace with my left arm and I do this. Right, I hit it 2 hours a day, like this hard, to grow bone.
Okay, and so it's obviously I mean your jaw doesn't look like fat or anything, so it would need to be a density upgrade, which would mean that the bone itself would have to be making a physical change. Am I correct?
So well, let me just, cause bro, I haven't slept in like 20 hours, so just give me a second. You're saying, for that change has to be, from bone smashing would be density, and that's why it got wider. Is that what you're saying?
Right, like the actual density of your bone, because if it was a facial tissue density change, you would see a difference. Like, yes, you would gain width in your jaw, but it wouldn't be like as solid. It would be more like tissue.
Yeah, like soft, malleable.
Right.
Uh, and also another thing is that not only the outside of my jaw grew, but also the inside of it, and that proves that the bone actually separated and moved out, right? Because bone structure on the outside, even if it was just tissue inflammation, it would just be increasing the size of the outside, and the inside would stay the same. But since my inside also changed, that just gave me the conclusion, and it's not only with me; it's with multiple people that I'm currently helping, and other people that I read about. I like looked at their results. Also moved out, just gave me to the conclusion that the bone actually moves, while getting thicker and denser.
So, with that being said, the actual emphasis on your jawline relies greatly, like a good jawline relies greatly on the tightness of the skin around it. So you could have like you could have a very dense jawline, but if you don't have the right like conformity of your skin, it could still look like you have a bad jawline. One of the problems that a lot of people have is with hydration. Hydration can greatly improve the elasticity of your skin. Um, so, with that being said, if you're creating that new, you're making that new tissue, uh, what exactly would be your way of combating the loss of skin elasticity that might come with that? Because you could be creating more damage than you could be doing good in that case.
So, by the way, great mic. You're the first person to have a great mic. But
Oh,
nothing.
thank you, bro.
Are you like podcasting or something, bro? Why you got a good mic, man?
No, I just have a very expensive phone.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's a phone. Oh, yeah, you can't join on PC. Forgot. But yeah, um, so with damage on the face. So currently, I really don't care about the skin because like my skin from originally is like super stretchy. So there's gonna be even if we got damaged, I don't really care. But there's gonna be multiple ways you could take care of your skin and the internals. You could use stuff like CJC or human growth hormone to help recover and build the bone faster, recovery and healing. And you could also add other stuff like Wolverine stack, or you could do Clo. It has four peptides in it. It's gonna be GHKC for it's gonna be for the skin for collagen production. Another thing is gonna be BPC. You would inject it locally in your face, and that would create more blood vessels around the area to draw more nutrients. With adding with the third peptide, which is TB500, and which pretty much does is just tells the body to go increase the transport of nutrients to damaged areas. So you hit here, all those three would help. And the last compound would be KPV, which would be anti-inflammatory compound. And you take it all, and it could help you recover and prevent damages to your skin. You know, but there's gonna be still
Okay.
even with those, it's gonna be still minimal. But those help prevent it from being excessive.
Do you think that arguably bone smashing is available to anyone, regardless of their genetic facial features, or do you think you already have to have a somewhat solid genetic line with a pretty decent jaw, and it's just more of an improvement than it is a like build from the ground up, if you will?
So yeah, that's actually very good. Now, most of it we see like even on my jaw, even if you see before, even though if it was narrow, I all I did was expand it, right? It just expanded and made it wider. So that kind of you could say that kind of have you need a good base, but I think what I'm currently doing right now is I am bone smashing my recessed maxilla. So it's genetic. I have a maxilla recession since I was a kid, and if I currently started, if by bone smashing my maxilla, I would be able to de-recess it in a couple of months, then I could conclude that even if you have horrible or deformities, you could do bone smashing and it could help you. Obviously, it's just gonna grow the bone, but if you have like a recessed jaw, a recessed like chin that goes like flat and goes backwards, you could reset de-recess it by bone smashing and project it, um, but it would still look unnatural just because your teeth might be crowded back. You can't fix that. You need orthodontics, but what it would do is just give you more bone mass. You will still have the recession base, but it will give you more bone mass and more projection.
I definitely see what you're saying. However, I do think it's very unlikely that you would get that sort of result simply from bone smashing. I feel like that's something that even if given you got, I think you said 1.2 inches, and that was over like how many months?
3 months between this and this.
3 months. So, given different people probably have different tolerances and a different build time depending on genetics. Um, I feel like that's something that you would need a surgery for, or some type of like actual procedure, because yeah, I'm not arguing that bone smashing doesn't work. I'm just arguing that I don't think that it works on the scale that a lot of people claim that it does. I mean, if you look at, studies, um, like it makes sense in theory, but in practice, I think it's a lot different. What would be your argument to kind of debate that?
Yeah, so for me, I don't think you could get infinite bone growth. I'm not saying you think I'm claiming that, but I'm just saying in general. I don't think there's going to be infinite bone growth. There's going to be diminishing returns. and there's gonna be a limit to the density and a limit to how wide you can get it. Like I probably can't get it this wide. Obviously, it's gonna be super unnatural. Plus, the harder it gets and the better resist the force, you have to drive up or increase the amount of force to the level where you start hitting your head and would damage your brain, right? Uh, but it could definitely work. No, it will definitely work, but you will not probably get 1.2 inches like me. You might get less, you might get more. It really depends on your base and how much you're willing to put in it. Because I do 2 hours a day of bone smashing consistently for 3 months, right? I haven't done it the past 3 months. I took a break just to see that it actually is permanent rather than temporary. And another thing is that you brought up is surgeries. Yes, surgeries are gonna be better. You just pay, get your face bones change the way they are. If you go to a correct surgeon, that would be easier. But like me, I don't even have money to go get my blood work. How am I gonna get my money to get, like, for example, scanned for my face, X-ray, and do like oh, like how much you're gonna de-resist and where you're gonna put the plates and stuff. Not also that, but I can't even pay for the surgery. Simple as that. So for me, I have to go for the cheapest one. I mean, this cost me $10, or you could use your fist, or you could use anything that is harder than your fist, just and has a small area, and you bone smash, and it will increase your bone size. So it's about saving money. I just don't have money. That's why I'm doing this.
Okay, absolutely. I see where you're coming from. Those any kind of facial surgery, excuse me, is completely ridiculous, cost wise. Um, to go with that, a lot of popular looks maxers would argue that bone smashing doesn't work. Why do you think that uh some people in the looks maxing community would argue that it doesn't, as opposed to somebody that would say that it does? And why do some people use it more as a marketing tactic than actually trying to explain it in practice?
Yeah. So for there's a lot of reasons people saying it doesn't work. Now I'll tell you what I heard and what I know. One is just gonna be that people haven't tried it for long enough or haven't done each session for long enough. Like a lot of these people say, I did it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe 5 minutes once every week. That's not gonna get you enough. Even if you do 5 minutes for 5 minutes a day for 2 months, it's not gonna be enough because it's just like light tapping or light bruising. It's not gonna be enough to change your bone structure or put enough pressures to your bones to change. Um, that's gonna be one reason, and another reason is just people haven't tried it. They just look at other people's opinion and say, you know what, it doesn't work. Let me see if there's any other reasons people brought up that bone smashing doesn't work. Oh, they say it's gonna be temporary fibrosis or hematoma, so just like blood like from bruising or from uh, what is called repair tissues that come to fix the bruising or the damaged area in your face, and that's just gonna be give you temporary swelling. Then after that, it goes away, and your bones do not change. Um, but I kind of disproved it easily just by 3 months not bone smashing, and my jaw length, my jaw width stayed the same. And another reason is they think bone smashing works, but it's so not effective and so minimal that's not worth doing because you're not gonna get massive amounts of facial growth. One reason they bring up is just like you get micro fractures, so very very little fractures, and what it does, it just grows maybe an extra layer, and after that you can't grow anymore, or you just get an increase in density in the bone. But besides that, nothing much. Those are the I would say the ways people say argue against bone smashing. Your other question was I haven't slept 20 hours, so um, not all the way right now in my head. Plus, I'm stuttering too much.
Understandable.
Yeah. What was the other question you say?
Um, so my other question was, um, since people are arguing differently whether it does or doesn't work, um, why they are trying to disprove each other and why they're trying to use it as like more of a, I would say, gimmick in the looks maxing community, than showing it in practice.
Okay. So 100%. So people are just gonna argue this, like anybody, even though people agree on something, they would just argue. I mean, last time we were not arguing, but we were talking, and then people were arguing how bone smashing work. Even though we all agree bone smashing work, we just wanted to talk it out of like the exact details of how bone smashing works. Why? Just because we love arguing, right? We just love talking, and that's just like
Right.
nature and humanity. They just love talking, and people will use it for a gimmick or publicity 100% and say, oh my god, bone smash did this, but they're actually using like anabolic steroids that with like testosterone and AGH and other steroids that would just force their bones to grow. Why? Because that's like second puberty, because when we go through puberty we go increase in testosterone and increase in SGH, and those are the basis of increasing our bone mass and making us look more masculine and wider faces and more bone mass. And that's what steroids do. So they would say, "Oh, I actually bone smashed," but in reality, they took steroids. And that's why, like for me, the only different change from here to here was me picking up a hammer and hitting my face. I was taking steroids, or not steroids, like peptides and like I'll just call them steroids. I don't know how knowledgeable you are on like pharmaceuticals, but I just call them steroids for now. I was in a couple steroids before for like a year and a half at this point. I think like around a year and a half, maybe a year and a quarter, but minimum a year, and my face still wasn't here. The only thing I did was picked up a hammer and did that. Now I want to be transparent as possible, but I also did chewing gum and it did whiten my face. Now, uh, they would just like use steroids and they say, oh, it's bone smashing, just so they get people to come to them and pay their courses and make money. And another thing is, for example, one guy was saying that he took 500 grams of sugar daily, and that's what got him bone mass. It's all for publicity, so they can make money at the end of this day. Um, but other people, because they see it, oh, being popular like before, it was kind of like a mini trend or a trend of, oh, bone smashing works, so people just picked it up so they could get views. But me, I'm way after the trend, and I'm still doing it, and I'm still pushing it because I believe in it, and it's actually true. I'm not using it as a gimmick, and I'm not. I know I'm not saying that you're accusing me of doing that. Obviously, I know you're objectively just questioning this stuff. I'm not using it. I'm actually saying it actually works. And me, I don't hop on trends, guys. Guys, I don't hop on trends. But yeah, these are the answers, hopefully, to your questions.
I appreciate that. I would like to touch back on something. I've been here for a little bit. I just wanted to touch back on something that was mentioned earlier. You said you consider the gym to be a waste of time. Now, I know you were rage baiting that guy, but at the same time, like, I just want to confirm, like, there are a lot of physical differences that will occur in your facial structure as well as in your neck area, which can influence your overall jawline appearance as well. Um, and coming with that discipline of a good workout, keeping up with what you're eating, your intake, as well as your hydration, can be a massive difference in getting a natural improvement to how you look. Um, you look at like movie stars, musicians, a lot of famous people, this is the way that they look as good as they do, and then they just improve it with makeup and whatnot. Um, so why would you, in theory, say that it would be a waste of time, or were you purely just rage baiting?
Yeah, so there is a bit of rage baiting, and I do have a mistake of not clarifying everything. But if I have to clarify every single thing, I'm not like pushing back on you. I'm just like regular when I was talking to him. I even did that before, or like people caught me on what is it called, like theoretical or like technicalities. And yeah, sure, I did say it was cope, but what I meant it by cope to me before, because I was ugly in the face. So having more muscle would maybe help my overall appearance by 0.5% maximum. But at the end of the day, my face is still ugly, so I cannot be perceived by the majority of people to be good looking, even though if I have a bit muscle. Now, it will help, broader shoulder and make you, obviously, it's gonna make you look more masculine. Nobody's gonna deny that, but more attractive to a certain degree by increasing your masculinity. But every other thing, not really, because your face is gonna still be the same. Maybe if you lost weight, that does help, but your bones will not change by going to the gym. Um, and it's not overall. It's not gonna be an overall change to your face, but overall to your body, 100%. Um, Now, when I meant cope, only cope because it looked ugly. But now, if I go, it's not cope. The only reason I'm not going to the gym is just because I've been experimenting on myself for the past 5 years of which compound works and which compound doesn't. Right? I just love experimenting on myself, just like the way I did this experiment for 3 months. The only thing that I did was just bone smash. The only thing like I changed, the variable that changed was bone smashing. Um, and what is it called? Uh, let's see. Yeah, I don't remember the other part, but it does help. It does help. Like right now, if I start going to the gym, it will help me. It will the overall looks just because my face is gonna be way better looking than before. So it would just give me instead of like a point 5 overall appearance improvement, it maybe give me like a one score like 1 out of 10. So from like a let's say from like a 6 to a 7, 6 7 no chill, like from a 5 to a 6 like a point increase, like that's gonna be maximum. That's if I get like a very very good physique, that's what it could do. Um, but oh yeah, like for the celebrities, they usually look good. They usually are attractive. Let's say 6.5 and above or 7 and above. So adding that physique improvement will just it's like a cherry on top and will give them that overall beauty instead of just having face beauty. It's just gonna be overall beauty. That's what I could remember from your questions.
I would just like to like kind of combat a couple of those things respectfully.
Yeah.
Um, Number one, like absolutely you will get a difference in your facial appearance from working out. I know I have personally, and I'm sure a lot of other people can attest to that. Working out doesn't just change your body. I feel like that's a it's a stereotype that a lot of people don't understand. I don't know your gym experience, and I'm not going to like make any accusations or anything like that. But I will say I probably felt the same way until I started hitting the gym more consistently. Um, and with that being said, another thing is I believe looks maxing can help people genuinely. Would I say like I'm like a looks maxer? Maybe not, but I'm still interested and I follow some practices. Um, but the way that I see genuine looks maxing, if I had to define it to an audience, I'd say it's touching on how you already live to get yourself in the best physical condition you can, and then to touch on that in whatever ways that you can to make yourself look more presentable. So, with that being said, I feel like the very baseline of looks maxing should be to get yourself into peak physical condition and see how that's going to affect your body. And from there, add in the small details um, to further ascend yourself, if you will.
Yeah. So for looks maxing, so I don't know you. Based on what you said, I was assume that you don't know too much. You might know the basics, but you know too much. So for like with looks maxing specifically, there's like unofficially three types of looks maxing. There's gonna be like soft maxing, so like maybe skin, hair, losing a bit of weight, maybe fixing your just general appearance, getting a haircut, stuff like that. This I guess is part of skin and hair, but then we go to like maybe just like regular looks maxing. That's gonna be like peptides, maybe some operation like orthodontics, taking steroids. Then we go to step level where we do hard maxing, where it's gonna go like do invasive surgeries, some crazy operations like cutting your face open and moving your bones. Those are then the next level, or like getting surgery on your legs so you could go like an extra 3 4 inches taller. Um, those are gonna be the things types of looks maxing. And another thing, yeah. So I'll just give you like kind of brief like pictures of kind of the summary of what I did regarding the gym. So I have my I guess my journal from 2023 on this one, but I used to have it from 2019, Unfortunately, I lost it just because it was I transferred all the files to another computer, and I lost all my pictures, not only gym but personal pictures. And now like I put pictures, and I used to have not only these three poses, but I had like all different poses, and I used to have bench, squat, and deadlift. You know, the three ones, and I used to do them every time I measure my body. I would also run them, and I put them here. I only removed them just because now the way I say it, it's cope, not in a general cope like for everybody. If anybody goes to the gym, but rather that for me before going to the gym is cope. But I used to measure everything, and like green that means improvement, red means something went bad, and having blue, where's the blue? Having blue that means stagnation or the same exact number, and that's what I did. And here, let me look for other pictures. I could also pull up. Wait, hold up. So if you look at the top, this is like a simplified version that I created, like a couple of months ago. But before, I used to have like more details, more specifics regarding my workout plan. And at one time, for a couple of months, I would go in 3 to 5 hours a day of working out. Now, was it every single minute working out? Obviously not, but the whole 3 4 hours I was sitting in the gym, working out and between rest. Simple as that. I would like rest 5 minutes because at that time I believed, if you rest 5 minutes and you did like 10 different workouts a day, that's gonna be the best. But wasn't working out for me. And let's look. Let me see if I have any good pictures of kind of the muscles I have. But you kind of like seeing my body physics.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I kind of have to admit that it's a little counterintuitive to me. And again, I'm not pointing fingers, I'm just making an observation. Um, because even given the situation, if I in turn looks max and I improve my facial features, I mean, I could be a really great looking guy. But thinking about it from that perspective, now I have, this gorgeous face, but I have like a body that I haven't been keeping up with, probably declining health, and like it all fits into the puzzle. So now I'm rushing to catch up to where I'm at with my face, with my body, which again, working out does change your body. So now you're affecting everything that you just did by going to the gym in an attempt to catch up with your progress. And you might have to completely change your face because your natural structure has already been altered. And so you're basically interfering with your body's natural course of change, if you will.
Okay, so yeah, so for me, I just love experimenting with myself. That's why even though I will benefit from, at my current position, for me, going to the gym is not gonna be cope, but I'm not doing it just because like again, I like experimenting on myself. I want to do a lot of experiments on myself, regarding all these different compounds. But yes, go fixing your face and also fixing your body will be the best thing ever. Um, and now, uh, for health, yes, there's gonna be a lot of side effects, and that's why when you're gonna start looks maxing or taking compounds, you have to be careful and do it with somebody that's experienced. Currently me, I would say I'm half experienced. Once I get all the experience, I'll be helping a lot of people. But yes, definitely do your research and make sure your health, because there's gonna be like a lot of damage. You could get brain damage, you could get heart damage, you could get liver damage, and they could be irreversible, and you could f up your life for the rest of your life just because you took a slightly bit more than usual, or you didn't do enough research about a compound, and you mess up your body forever. But yes, I do agree with you. You have to take care of your health, not just your looks and your body, but your health, because even if you fix your face and your health is horrible, that's not worth it because you're gonna die and you're not gonna be able to perform in life as regular.
Okay, I see what you're saying. One thing I have to say though is like I think looks maxing I mean, I think it's all a personal perception thing. I know a lot of people that are like way more into looks maxing than I am, and a lot of them are perfectly good-looking guys, you know, but they feel like they need to be something more, and that is what I feel like has become capitalized on by a lot of the looks maxing community because, like I said, I feel like a lot of people use it as a scam. Obviously, I'm sure you've seen the same thing, selling their courses, whatever it may be. I just feel like there isn't any kind of glow up that you can do without surgery that is going to provide ample differences that is not purely cosmetic based, aka, for example, um, changing your haircut can make a big difference. You know, trimming your scraggly beard if it doesn't look good, you know, can make a big difference, whatever it may be. Um, you know, maybe you're just gonna look better a certain way. So I feel like there's a natural way of looks maxing, if you will. I don't know the term for it. Maybe it's soft maxing, whatever it may be. And it just doesn't need to carry on any further than that. And if it does, then I feel like at that point you're just searching, because if you've tried everything naturally and it's not working for you and you're having to like experiment, quote unquote, no jab at you, I'm just saying in general, um I think that you've reached a point where, you know, you're just grasping at straws basically. And I'm not saying that's specifically the case. I'm just saying, again, if I wake up tomorrow and I decide I want to be a better looking guy, the first thing I'm going to look into is why, you know, I feel like I'm not already a good looking guy. And a lot of it is mentality and environment. So I don't know. I feel like people put a little bit too much faith into what looks maxers are telling them to do rather than just taking care of themselves and realizing that they're going to naturally just look better.
Yeah. I would this would be the first disagreement we have today, but I would say there's gonna be methods other than obviously search is gonna be the most effective, the fastest, the easiest, but there's gonna be other effective, just like bone smashing, that are gonna be massive changes in your face and taking steroids as we see in a lot of people. But why do a lot of people doing looks maxing? And definitely, I would say instead of doing the soft maxing like hair, skin, and other stuff like that, and like health indicators, why don't people do that first and just skip to bone smashing or taking steroids? Just because the how do I say this? Because I'm too sleepy, but like not price to performance, but putting effort to it and how much you're gonna benefit from it. That's like really really efficient, really really high in the mid maxing, like taking steroids, taking compounds, and bone smashing. Just because you're putting so little effort for so much benefits, right? While if you go for the like soft maxing, you're putting so much effort for so little changes, and for the hard maxing, you're putting so much effort, like money, and it's gonna be money, and you're gonna get so much stuff. And most people cannot go to the bottom, and they do not want to do the. They don't want to. They cannot go to the top because it's gonna be a financial issue, and most people do not want to do the lower, just because. You're gonna get maybe 1 to 2 points in your overall looks maximum, and I'm pushing that because also I consider working out as soft maxing, because that would give you like 1 to 2 points maximum, and people it's gonna take a long time, and people usually do not want to wait that long, maybe a year, 2 years to see a lot of change. They want to see quick changes, quick results, even if it's dangerous. But most time they could, you could mitigate all the negative side effects of like peptides and compounds and bone smashing. And now I would say uh, for why do a lot of people do it, men today? I think it's just because the type of society we live in today. 100, 200 years ago, looks are always important throughout the life, but it was not emphasized as much as before. Why? Because before it was based on survival. Based if you have a tribe, if you have money, not money, if you have like a tribe, if you have a house, if you have good income, livable wage, if you have maybe a farm, if you have a kingdom to live under, that's what was most important. Survival and getting what is called like nutrients and resources. But today, since we're abundant with resources, housing, we live under a protected area, so we don't have to live like the way we lived to 100, 200 years ago. Now we started to focus on less important stuff that or less important stuff to our ancestors 200 years ago, which was looks and social media, like being famous all over the world. Those are gonna be, they were not really important back then, but now they're important because all the other necessities are given to us by ease. We live in an easy society. We live in an easy generation, right? Yes, it's gonna be my generation also. It's just like the past like 150 years, and that's why people care about looks, because looks are gonna be the easiest determinant in your life. How easy you gonna how easy your life is gonna be lived. Um, but it's just gonna be the the change in culture and change in time. Simple as that.
Okay. I see where you're coming from. I wouldn't disagree. I think that everybody has I think everybody has like an inner desire to, look good. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And you know, um, I don't think it's wrong to want to look better. Um, the problem is when I feel like people get to the point where they're so obsessive that they just take extreme measures. For instance, have never I've never done peptides. I've never done any of that. I've never had to do any of that, and I've still vastly improved my appearance. I can't share pictures on here, obviously, but if you saw what I looked like when I was younger, I look a lot better than I used to. It's completely natural. I'm pretty comfortable with how I look right now. So I would say I don't disagree with you. Um, I just feel like what you're pushing is something that I would push kind of if I've exhausted all the natural options that I have. Because, yes, it may be as you said. Um, I was listening when you made the point that it's going to be a lot slower. You might not get the same like sudden harsh effects that you could like bone smashing or like similar looks maxing techniques. However, I feel like you should be able to be happy with yourself, and sometimes like it just takes a little bit of a nudge to do that before you go around changing yourself irreversibly, if you will. Things like a haircut, things like, like light makeup, trimming your brows, staying clean shaven, having a nice mustache, beard. These are the types of things that, if you're not happy with them, if you do them and you're not happy with yourself, there's nothing lost. But when you get into, like peptides, any kind of drugs, any kind of injections, any kind of surgeries, things like this, there's no going back from this stuff. So it's like you're permanently altering yourself, and if you know, suddenly realize that you were all right with the person you were, it's going to be too late at that point. That's the only point that I'm kind of trying to make.
This is actually a really good conversation. I got restricted when you joined, so there's not a lot of people. I wish there was more a lot of people because it was a good conversation. But um, yes, obviously somebody should try to, before they hop on these stuff. It would be good to do like hygiene, soft maxing, test it out. If they're still not okay, I personally would tell them to go to the stuff that I'm doing, just because there's so much reward. Yeah, it's gonna be high risk, high reward, right? Or medium risk, a high reward for the bone smashing and peptides, right? And like, if I was put back 200 years ago, as like me right now with all the knowledge I know, with all the experience I know, 200 years ago, I will not be doing this. Why? Because society back then did not put too much emphasis on improving your looks. Why? Because we lived in a different society. But today, unfortunately, we live in a modern society, um, extremely how do I say it? Um, like front value, like superficial society. Your looks, your money, nothing's. They don't want to know your personality. They don't want to know your beliefs. They just want to know superficial. So that's the type of society we live in and civilization we live in today. If it was different, then this would be irrelevant. That's why we cannot really remove uh, people with ideologies like me, and it's not gonna get any less. It's gonna get only more, just because um, society we live in this type of civilization in the modern day. I wish it could change, but unfortunately we can't change. It might take 100, 200 years reset of the world, maybe. Not saying it should happen, but it's gonna be nearly impossible for that to happen overnight. To for people to care too much about their looks.
I would agree with that, especially considering that um with the rise of expectations that are set upon men in the modern era, they can be very easy to be simply judged immediately based off of what you look like. Obviously, I think that's bogus. I don't agree with that, but it is just a genuine fact of life. That's something that you can't change. I can't change. But with that being said, the first thing that I'll always preach is be yourself. Um, I think that everyone is beautiful. I think that everybody has, the genetic features they were given, and that there's beauty in being different. I believe we're in a world that pushes that you need to look a certain way. If I want to be handsome, I have to have a hunter eyes. I have to have like blah blah blah. I have to have this that. Like yeah, those things are like beauty standards for like American model industry or whatever it may be. But if you can be content in the way you look, you don't have to be the stereotype of beauty. And that's the only reason why I say I would personally not push looks maxing as much as I would like support looks maxing, because I think it can be a tool, and every tool can be used for destruction or to build things up. Um, I think people could definitely fall down the wrong path and let it be all consuming and learn to hate themselves more because of it. Um, because, like I said, I do believe that everybody has natural beauty, and that if you never at least come to terms with the way you are and the way you were born, that it's going to be very difficult to ever come to terms with it.
Yeah, I mean, personality will matter, but looks are gonna be superior overall, in attraction and day to day. But you know, as you said, looks max is a tool and it could be used for building or destruction. And for me, I would like to say that I am on the building side. I'm not on the destruction side. I met a lot of people that are going to be negative. They're going to be put. They actually came up and talked to me all the time when I go live, and they always are so. A lot of them they're always so negative, so putting down and destructive about it. Right? They don't want people to look good. They want people to feel insecure. They want people to pretty much end their lives just because they look a certain way. But for me, I am more of a positive direction towards it. You could do this to improve your life. You could take this to not your life. You could do this to improve your looks. You could do this to improve. Take this to improve your looks. then this will help you with your self-confidence. This will help you in your day-to-day interaction, and overall it will help improve your life. And that's what my channel is going to be about. What am I be doing? And I want to be I wish that I could get super well known, not only in the looks magazine but generally, just so I could get hope to people, and it's not over, and you could actually improve your looks, and it's not a negative thing to look about yourself and saying, okay, I have this flaw, let's fix it in this correct way, without putting yourself down and saying, yep, it's gonna be over for me, I should end it, I should, rope max, as people say in the looks magazine community, commit that word, I can't say it. So I'm not about that negative side, and I'm all about the positive side. And by the way, can I you're like one of the best people I had a conversation with throughout a couple of months going live. Can I post this on YouTube? If not, it's okay, man.
Absolutely, you can. Yeah, I have no problem with you doing that.
All
Again, I try to ask relevant questions. I wish you the best of luck, genuinely. I'll give you a follow myself. I don't think I have yet, but
right.
I'll give you a follow myself. I think that's great. I agree with you. We should like acknowledge, okay, maybe there is something wrong, because like you said earlier, and I touched on, the way you're perceived in the modern era, like it does make a difference. So I think it's all right to understand, like, hey, like this might genuinely be something that is preventing me from living my best life, like whether I want to do something about it or not, it's still going to have that adverse effect on my lifestyle. So yeah, I would highly agree that it's worth doing everything you can to not lose hope and become the best version of yourself, as I would wish for anyone.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, bro. That's a good conversation, man. I
Did
would,
you guys finish talking?
I would say so. Look, it was actually genuinely good. The only wishes I had, it was like I would have talked to you when I was awake, rather than I was at the end of my sleeping schedule when I sleep. Plus, I wish there was more people here to benefit, because I really don't have a lot of people follow me on YouTube, so they might not watch it. But hopefully, in the future, once I become big and become like an icon for Looks Magazine, they eventually will watch this and benefit a lot.
Absolutely, I would agree with that.
All right. Any comments,
Holy,
guys?
bro, like a whole hour of you guys, bro.
No, I think it's beneficial. I wish I had more like this, respectful, in detail, rather than a lot of people just coming here screaming. So,
Unfortunately, it doesn't matter what you do. There's always going to be the haters.
yeah.
I think I live by the motto that, like, I will always give respect until I am disrespected, and then you lose my respect.
Yeah.
I think there's absolutely no reason to give somebody hate just because they're doing something that you don't necessarily probably even understand, let alone like have a word in. I think as long as you're able to sit down and have a respectable conversation with somebody, and you're able to have reasonable agreements and disagreements, as grown men or women, of course, that there should be no hate coming into that. But I go live as well all the time. I'm a guitarist. I'll go on here, I'll play some metal, like have a good time. And there's still haters, there's still people coming in there, you suck, blah blah blah. And I know I don't,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, they're always going to be there. Do your best. I believe in you. You have a vision, just don't forget it. Like you said, at first, like, it might be rough, you might not have those people watching you, but like you said, once it happens, once you keep that vision, you'll look back to this day and this moment, and you'll be like, you know what, like, I believed in myself when nobody else did. When everybody else came in here hating and judging and being disrespectful, I kept a cool head about it, and then be the person You know, with the last laugh at the end of the day.
Yeah. That was a good conversation.